I call the member for Kooyong.
Thank you, Mr Deputy Speaker. I rise here today to contribute to the condolence motion brought forward by the Prime Minister in response to the summer of natural disasters which has ravaged many parts of Australia. This summer has been one filled with tragedy across our great land. From the overwhelming floods in Queensland and Cyclone Yasi, which followed the slow mass of water which has devastated so many Victorian and New South Wales towns, many parts of Australia have been left reeling. Just a couple of weeks ago also saw the people of Western Australia battle their own natural disaster, with a fast-moving bushfire destroying 72 homes on the outskirts of Perth. No part of Australia has been left immune. As my colleague, the member for Curtin, has said in this House, recent events have reminded us of the prescient words of Dorothy McKellar's poem, My Country, first published in 1908 and written when she was just 19. I love a sunburnt country, a land of sweeping plains, of ragged mountain ranges, of droughts and flooding rains. I love her far horizons, I love her jewel sea, her beauty and her terror, the wide brown land for me. And so it is. We love the combination of our unique and beautiful landscape and weather, but there is also a great deal of unpredictability and at times sorrow that flows from unforeseen events. The devastating floods that have ravaged our nation over the past few months are one such event. In early January, the floods began to hit Queensland, quite literally sweeping some rural towns away in its deadly path. Communities were left devastated and heartbroken, similar to the scenes throughout Victoria following Black Saturday, and now they face the daunting task of rebuilding. The January floods in Queensland have claimed a total of 35 lives so far. There still remains a further 7 people who are missing. As the waters in Queensland rose, many people lost everything, including treasured family possessions that can never be replaced. The impact on the communities of the Lockyer Valley and Toowoomba were particularly significant. The sight of this inland tsunami was beamed across the country and the world as we appreciated the scale of this unfolding tragedy. But what we have seen through this entire crisis has been the true nature and grit of the Australian people. Thousands lined the streets offering their services for the massive clean-up operation, and busloads of volunteers came from afar to lend a hand. This really was true Aussie mateship at work. We must not forget that even now, weeks later, many people are still involved in the clean-up operations. I commend the leadership shown by the Australian Defence Force, emergency service workers, police, fire brigade and ambulance workers for their tireless efforts in helping the people affected. I also acknowledge the role of Brisbane City Council and the Mayor, Campbell Newman, for their significant efforts. I know too many of my colleagues have done all that they can to help their constituents and want to make specific mention of the leadership of the member for Wright, the member for Groom, the member for Ford, the member for Kennedy, the member for Herbert, the member for Leichhardt, the member for Longman and the member for Ryan in their electorates, and pay tribute to the work of the members of the other side of the House for their efforts too. Just as Queenslanders began to regain their stride, they were then told that the full force of Cyclone Yasi was heading their way. The courage showed by the people of northern Queensland, in particular those in Tully and Cardwell, acting as this ordeal was approaching, was absolutely inspiring. As the floods began to subside in Queensland and New South Wales, the people of Victoria started to experience their own rising waters. After 10 years of horrific and soul-destroying drought, our state began to experience heavy rainfall and flooding. The livelihoods of many of our farmers and regional communities were threatened. The Victorian Government, led by Premier Ted Baillieu and Deputy Premier Peter Ryan, have dealt with the continuing crisis with compassion and urgency. Towns such as Creswick, Rochester, Skipton and Mildura felt the force of those rising waters, with some calling it a mass inland sea. Nearly 100 Victorian towns have been affected by the flooding, with a number of electorates facing widespread damage. More than 3,000 farmers have been hit, more than 4,000 kilometres of fence destroyed, over 120,000 tonnes of hay lost and over 8,000 tonnes of grain were flooded. Damage is estimated in the billions of dollars. I know many of my colleagues whose electorates were hit hard, including the member for Wannon, the member for Mallee, the member for Murray and the member for Flinders, have worked tirelessly with their communities to assist those affected. Whilst not anywhere near the same scale as the floods and storms experienced by so many Australians over the past few months, my own electorate of Kooyong was also lashed with a torrent of rain, causing incidents of minor flash flooding in different areas. A number of traders and residents were affected, with shops having to close due to water damage. Trading associations like the Camberwell Traders Association, under the presidency of Hank Kelly Coves, and the Burundara Council under Mayor Nicholas Tragas, have worked hard to assist those affected. In conclusion, Mr Deputy Speaker, let me say that what we have seen over the past month is the Australian spirit being tested by the full force of Mother Nature. From heavy rains, floods, fire and cyclones, the people of Australia have been tested. But what we have seen as a result is really a testament to the character of our great nation. When faced with disaster, people have rallied around their neighbours, not hesitating to get their hands dirty in the rescue and the clean-up operations. As the Leader of the Opposition said in Parliament this week, we have seen Australians at their best over the past few months, as we all come together to assist in the important recovery task ahead.